Welcome back everyone to the Hello World guys. This is another episode of the SFML game Dodger game series, and in this video we are gonna actually start creating our game, because in the last video we basically set up a basic window with a circle in between. And let me just run the program so you can see what we have got. So this is what we have got right now. What I'm gonna do here is change a couple of things. So first of all, this is video mode, which contains a width and a height. I'm gonna change that width to be a little larger, like 800, and I'm gonna actually remove this circle and also this draw thing. And then now let's actually try to draw a something different, but actually yeah, let's not completely delete it, but instead I'm gonna change this to a rectangle shape. So rectangle shape, yes, that's it. And I'm gonna you can just basically rename this by right clicking and saying quick action, rename, control R, or you can press and you can just say let's say player. Yeah, let's say player. Now if you preview that, this is what it looks like. Just apply and it will rename it all in all places. Now what you can do is you can go ahead and see it has got a bunch of different kind of things here. So first of all, we have got a couple of different constructors. One of this is a vector size. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and say sf colon vector vector to f, which is gonna have two sizes. So basically we want to obviously have it like this. Since this is not a circle, we can actually change the size, and it's giving a little problem. Must have class type, but it has got the type of this. Okay, it's giving a little problem, it seems. Why? If I name it p player. Okay, let's see. Player is not working, it seems. So if I go ahead and here say player, uh, player. Okay, it is giving a little error. I'm not sure why. And let's see what it says. It says that the identifier is undefined. If we say player, then it also gives an error saying that must have class type, but it's got a rectangle shape within this. Okay, so first let's put two stuff in here, 50 and 50, let's say. And yeah, that fixes our problem. The reason it was happening is because it was taking it to be a function pointer. Okay, so now let's start again and see what happens. Now it would be located in an awkward kind of position, but you can see that that does appear. Now I'm actually gonna make it a little larger, 80, maybe 75 by 75. There's gonna be just a circle, a square. By the way, you haven't got any square shape if you try to say square, because a rectangle is basically a square if you make it like both sides equal. And you can obviously change this to match as well by putting both of these here like that. Now if you run, you should see that we get it exactly in the middle of the screen. Oh, we actually don't. Wow, that's interesting. We don't get it in the middle of the screen. Why did that happen? Well, let me actually change this first to 80 by 80 so that we have got an even number here. And now let's go ahead and say 40 here, and here we are also gonna say 40, because this is not radius anymore. This is the whole size of the square or rectangle or whatever you want to call it. It's not just that anymore. Now it's still not exactly placed at the right position, but we can obviously change that as we want. And main reason is that this is supposed to be now 400, because we are actually got a larger thing, a larger screen. So now let's see if that's centered. Okay, it's actually perfectly centered now. So I want this to be somewhere down here like that. But first of all, I'm going to think that 80 is being a little bit too large, so we can obviously tweak the sizes to be whatever we want. And this is gonna be 30. And as far as this is concerned, I'm not going to make it 30, but instead I'm gonna go ahead and get 600 minus 60. Now what this does mean is that I'm just going to move it a little bit like lower. So let's see, that's where it is now. That is obviously putting it like right on top of the screen. So we might want to change this to something like 80 to make it a little bit higher, so that it actually is a better visible. So let's see, better yeah, that looks quite better. But obviously you can increase that size if you want. I'm gonna just like do it at 110. Alright, so that is pretty awesome, and we have got our player. But I'm also gonna change its color to be I want it to be kind of grayish, so I'm going to say 80 here, and this is green. And but here I'm gonna do 120, and there I'm gonna do 120 as well. So it would be very lightly you know, kind of bluish thing, but it will also be very dark. Yeah, that's what it looks like. I don't want it to be dark, so I'm going to actually change this to 250 and this to 250 as well. Yeah, let's do that. And then here I'm gonna change this to 230. Yeah, that should be pretty awesome, so let's try that out. Yeah, okay, that's a bit too white. So let's change this to 180, and obviously you can play around with the colors until you get something you like, or an easier way would be just open some online color picker and just copy the RGB value from there. Now obviously that works, but our background is not right. We are going to change that anyway, or actually let's don't. I'm going to change this color to be actually just gray. So 70 here, 70 there, and 60 on the red, so it just got a little bit of tint to it. So let's try that out now for the final time, and yes, that looks awesome. So you can obviously put the colors whatever you want, and now our player is just one here. We want just standing like in the middle of the screen. We want to actually move it left and right. So how are we supposed to do input inside of SFML? Now there are two ways that you can go about handling input inside of SFML. One is to use events. So you can go ahead and say if e dot, like we did e dot type, if you go ahead and say e dot key dot code, which will give you a code here, which is like of type. So if you go ahead and code, you can see it's of type key. So you can go ahead and say is equal to sf colon colon keyboard colon colon like that keyboard and colon colon key like yeah, you can say something like a maybe, for example. If you do that, and let's say we just go ahead and say std colon colon cout and say a and then a new line. And obviously, in order to use cout, you need to include right click and just quick actions and include iostream. So if I run that, what you should see is that it essentially does work, and inside of our console window at the back, not the main game window, the console window, if I press a, each time I press a, you can see it works. Now when I press and release, it happens on both, and it's having a bit of a weird reaction, and you can obviously implement it through this way, but it's not actually that great. Instead, the way that you should implement it with, which is much better, is to use the keyboard class directly. So in here, so this is basically we are handling graphics here, drawing the stuff. So here we can do any changings that we want to for the game logic. So fsf colon colon, let's go ahead and say keyboard colon colon is key pressed. So you can say is key pressed, and for that you can essentially give it a key which is sf colon colon keyboard, and you can give it a key, for example, let's say left arrow, or yeah, left arrow, left. So if that key is pressed, then you can, for example, change the player's position. So you can say player dot so if you're going to say position, set position to, and you can what you want to set it to will depend, because we want it to move the player to the right, and there is no okay, there is a function called move, so you can use that. But if you don't want to like go ahead and set position all over again, which is called problems, so for this you want to give it a vector to f, obviously vector to f, and what you want to do here is we want to have our y as 0 and our x as something, let's say like 5, which means it will move it at 5. Now that might be too much or too less depending on what happens. So let's start our program and see what happens. Okay, that was a bit way too much. Now you want to do something really small like 0.1, and if you do that, it should actually be a lot better now. But if I press left, it's moving in the wrong direction. So we want to kind of fix this, so I'm going to actually change it to 0.08. Actually yeah, let's change it to that, but we are gonna make this negative. So we are, what this is basically gonna work for that, and you can basically implement all of the other keys similarly. So not all of the, because we have got only one other key, we are only allowing the user to move left and right. So right, we are gonna do positive, because remember this for example in a window, SFML or otherwise most other windows, you've got this as 0, so this way it's moving positive here, and here it's moving negative. So this is 0 and moving like so. 0 is like basically positive means like to the right, to the left, and negative means to the right. Actually, no, negative means to the left, and positive means to the right. So let's see if that works. Yes, and you can see we can move left and right, and that is pretty awesome. And you can obviously change the speed to whatever you want, and it's working pretty awesome. So I'm going to change the speed, for example, back to 1, so that it's a bit faster and the game feels more awesome. So yeah, this is pretty much it for this video. In this video we implemented our player and made it move. In the next video we'll start implementing the obstacles that the player needs to dodge. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and make sure to share this video with other people. And by the way, I've also changed the colors, and bye.